Good afternoon, and yes, it's non per a con, with people and not for people. That's what I understood very well from this presentation. It's nice to tell you here about Oodi, which has appeared to be a still greater success story than we could think in advance. But the point is that everything what is successful there was well planned in advance. That's not occasional. That's a very purposeful work behind this. And I also want to say that Oodi is not the only one, not the only popular central library in present big cities. During the last decades, at least I have seen such quite a slow but very steady line upwards in appreciation of public libraries. It's very sure when I think about the work I have done in different city networks for Tampere and now for Helsinki, it's very clear that public libraries are more and more central. So, about Oodi. What is Oodi? It's one concretization of this new type of library concepts. And very popular or very important in our cold city, in our cold northern country. It's an open space possible for everyone to come in, although, and you don't need money to come in. And what you can do in Oodi, you can do much more things than only reading or lending books or other materials. You can learn, you can have meetings, you can do things together, you can do things, do it yourself based, etc. And it's very important that it's a kind of democracy hub. When people meet there, they can share their ideas about what to do with this, our city next. And here is the whole idea of Oodi in short. How does it look like? I know that there have been already many photos about Oodi, but this is the general view of the upper floor, and I would like to especially mention the shelves, which are, by the way, Italian shelves, that many people criticize Oodi for being more a circus than a library. But I would say that these library shelves in the middle of the most beautiful floor and with special enlightenment, it's more that they are really the focus of Oodi. And in Finnish public libraries, I would say that, or at least in big cities, something like 1/2 is of all the functions, all the resources, all the actions is bound still with lending books. That's still the hit product of the hot product of public libraries, and therefore we also in Oodi appreciated it a lot. Then, what does it mean to have focus on people? I already mentioned this idea of non-commercial public space, and we do expect more than 2 million visitors per year to visit Oodi. It seems that that will be exceeded, that number, at least in the first years. Then this new skills for our fastly developing city. Where can you have your hands on, for example, on 3D printers or vinyl cutters or things like that? The Oodi library offers people this opportunity as well. And we have already seen that people on their own create this and that and a third one in the Oodi circumstances, because this is the meeting hub and democracy hub, as I said, that not all, most of the things which are happening in Oodi are far beyond the library control. People are doing Oodi themselves. And there is a rich program every day, many events, all the meeting rooms, all the spaces where you can perform anything are very well booked. We have had a very strong participation program from the very beginning of planning of this new library. We took in citizens who answered by now loving Oodi so much that at the opening day, at sometimes we had to shut the doors and say, sorry, this is now so full booked that we have to have a little break in leaving people in. In general, in Nordic countries, public libraries are considered to be public living rooms. And now it's also in the new Finnish public library law. It's quite this new Finnish Public Library Act is quite is a piece of good legislation, because it, among other things, it says that public libraries have to provide premises for learning, recreational activities, working, and civic activities. And as I already said, for example, our politicians, when they decided on a very vast majority, 78 votes against pro and 7 votes against building this in January 2015. So they knew, they had already noticed that people really need and want this kind of space in the city centrum of Helsinki. Then some numbers. It's 10,000 square meters and mainly in public use. This is not the main library. The main library with acquisition and other administrational and support things still remains in Pasila. This is open for public nearly wholly. And I already mentioned this citizen participation, which will continue after the opening. People are still along in planning actions and programs in the library. It costed something like 100 million euros, and 30 million euros of that was paid by the Finnish government, untypical, not usual, but this was the Finland's 100th anniversary main project. The architectural competition was international, but it was won by a Finland-based ALA Ala Architects Limited. And there are several permanent partners from the European Commission to our early education department of the city inside the house. Then some pictures. This is the general overview of the location. Couldn't be better. This was the last free slot in the whole city centrum of Helsinki. Our city planners were a little crying when they said that now the last one was gone. The first floor is for meetings, for exhibitions, for hustle and bustle, and we also have there a kino theater. I remember that, for example, in Rotterdam there is a theater, and in Zwarte Diamond, Black Diamond in Copenhagen there is a concert hall. So we have a kino theater where the National Film Archive shows their films. And then one of the nice architectural details is this DNA or double staircase, and if you see these small texts inside the staircase, that's a piece of community art. The artist asked Helsinki people, whom do you devote this library, and got something like 1,000 answers, and 800 of those are written in the staircase. Then the mid-floor is for do-it-yourself. I have to say that these 3 floors are different from each others. So this is quite a rough attic-like, and there are studios, there are these 3D printers which I mentioned, etc. And that has also appeared to be very popular after opening. By the way, the director of the library is with that dress with blooms in the sliding staircase. Anna-Maria Soininvaara, some of you might know her. There is, from this DNA staircase, a view to the mid-floor. People are every morning coming very early to this sitting staircase and conquering places from there. This is also from the mid-floor. Also elderly people like these, rocking chairs, rock chairs, I think that's the English word. Then the book heaven is the 3rd floor or upper floor. There are 3 floors, but in Finnish we call this 3rd floor, you would call it 2nd floor. So this is the upper floor. And that's called book heaven, as I mentioned. And it's really, 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 really popular. There is a cafe which is always, you have to queue to get a place there. And there are glass walls which are covered with small white dots like snowing, but that's because in summer it will be too hot without this shading. And the family library, which is a new concept, one of the new concepts created for this library, is located on this floor. And we were very relieved when we understood that the acoustics of this very wide upper floor is working well in spite of this family library, including children in one end of the library. There are, by the way, specially made carpets, 8 pieces of specially made carpets in the library, which have been made according to Finnish fairy tales and other stories. And here there is one picture more about this family library. This is very early in the morning because otherwise it would be totally full booked. Well, sorry. Well, which are the impacts and results of this kind of project? We have their Helsinki residents. We have here their people waiting for the bus or train or whatsoever, and we have there a lot of tourists who are looking at aboriginals in their own little doings. Because nowadays tourists like to see people in their everyday life, so they come here to see what do Finns do on an ordinary Tuesday. And I have to thank these participation methods are first difficult because the users are coming too near to your professional skills and your professional identity, and you feel that, I know this better. But after all, the planning quality was raised with this participation method. I'm very pleased that it was launched in this connection. And it was also inside the city. This was the first big participation effort in the whole city of Helsinki, and it created a lot of good reputation for the library. The international coverage of in media has been amazing. Our marketing people have counted that alone in the last year, so 2018, that was worth of nearly 11 million euros. 11 million euros. It was difficult to believe, but then they showed me the calculations, and yes, okay. That's their way to count. The first opening months have been quite laborious. It has now been open for 3 months and some days, some weeks. And the first 2 days took in 55,000 people. That was heavy. And during December, nearly 300,000 visitors, and now at the end of February, the number was something like 700,000. As I said, we were excited in advance how will the acoustics of the upper floor work, and that's very nice. But now we are waiting for, with this big amounts of users, how will the wooden floor be in 2 years, 3 years time, and we hope the best. There are such elements which you couldn't imagine it in advance, because this is so popular that all kind of usage is so heavy. Other consequences are that it took only 2 weeks for the library to be empty of books, not totally, but nearly empty of books. And also the staff appeared to be too small. There are 54 staff members, and now we are negotiating with the city to get 10 more, because otherwise it doesn't work. And all cleaning and everything has to be added. But we have also met other kinds of phenomena. We could rent the building for conferences for the next 3 years. There are many conference organizers who try to hire the whole building and close it from the public for days. And that hasn't succeeded, but this international reputation brings all kind of consequences. Lastly, I heard that some Chinese wedding agency had asked what kind of wedding photo services are available in this library. Is the quality good enough? Well, the marketing people of the city of Helsinki are now considering this. But in fact, I think that was no thanks. This is not the type we are offering you. And another consequence with the Helsinki people, for example, when we were opening and planning the opening program of Oodi, everyone wanted to be along and offered a program for the opening ceremonies. It was a little sad to say to so many people that no thanks, our program is full booked. But that all kind of, it's very interesting to be too popular. And we have counted that we would need in the city centrum of Helsinki approximately 2 or 2.5 Oodis to be sufficient for the request of people. I think my time is getting, because there is one more element where Oodi Library is very important. There is it's located in an area where there are many cultural buildings. You can see here that there are from the opera to Finlandia Hall to National Theatre, National Museum, National whatsoever, and other cultural and sports institutions. And now we are collecting these and organizing them to network more with each others. And 2 nodes are in this network. Oodi is one, and the Olympic Stadium is another one. And we want more to happen between these nice cultural and sports institutions. And that's also a very interesting effort. I think we are getting to an end. Yes, that's the thing which I just said. that the idea is simply that, okay, Oodi is a low-threshold cultural institute, and inside Oodi, these other places, like the National Opera, which is not as popular in Finland than opera music is in Italy, can advertise and somehow lower the threshold to come to an opera. And my last slide is the vision of the Helsinki City Library, which now comes, so to say, to an end, so that the library, now when Oodi is ready, the Helsinki City Library has to create a new vision. But this is what we tried to do with this new building, and till now it seems that it succeeded quite well. Thanks.